TiVo fixed almost everything that made watching TV so frustrating. You no longer had to be home at a certain time or fight with a VCR, and for the first time, it actually felt like you were in control. But here's the part that doesn't make sense. If TiVo solved all of that, why didn't it win? Before TiVo came along, the TV schedule was basically in charge of your life. We rarely think about it anymore because streaming mostly fixed it, but back then, this whole idea of appointment viewing was a real problem. If a show started at 7, you basically needed to be there at 6:59. If you got stuck in traffic or had to work late, you were out of luck. You missed it. And if it was a serialized show, you weren't just missing one episode, you might be completely lost for the rest of the season. We tried to work around this with VCRs, but they were a mess for a lot of people. You had to program them using tiny buttons with confusing menus. Half the time the clock was blinking 12 o'clock, and you were never quite sure it was actually going to record. Then you had to make sure the tape had enough space, and hope you weren't accidentally recording over something you actually wanted to keep. If the network started to show even a couple minutes late, your recording would cut off right at the worst possible moment. And if the show aired at a different time or day, your VCR recorded Ginsu knife commercials on repeat. And for a long time, that was just normal because we didn't know any better. When TiVo was introduced to consumers, it didn't just feel like a better VCR, it genuinely felt like a miracle, like a life-changing device. The first time you paused a live football game or your favorite crime drama to grab something to eat, it didn't actually feel real. Like, how is this possible? You weren't rewinding something you recorded, you were stopping live television, walking away, and coming back exactly where you left off. And if you were late to a show, you could just start from the beginning, even while it was still airing. But that was really just the beginning. The big breakthrough was the season pass. You didn't have to think about schedules anymore. You just told TiVo, hey, I like this show, and it handled the rest. It would find every episode, record it automatically, and keep everything organized for you. For the first time, you weren't managing the TV, it was managing itself around you. The famous peanut-shaped remote had a simple thumbs-up and thumbs-down system, and over time, TiVo actually learned what you liked. It would suggest shows, record them on its own, and turn your TV into something that felt more like a personal library than a broadcast schedule. And then there was everyone's favorite villain, commercials. With TiVo, you could fast forward through ads and get right back to your program in seconds. You could even unlock 30-second skip with select, play, select, 3, 0, select. Yep, I still remember it. It was easy to knock out an hour-long program in under 45 minutes, and once you got used to that, there was no going back. For TiVo owners, it didn't feel like an upgrade. It felt like you had skipped ahead in time. The problem wasn't the product. People loved their TiVo. The problem was the system it was dropped into. Think about how you watched TV back then. You had a cable box from Comcast, Time Warner, or Cox, and that was your setup. It was already there, already hooked up, and part of the bill you were paying every month. But here's the catch. TiVo didn't replace any of that. So now, instead of one simple setup, you had two. You were already paying for cable, so why would you pay for two subscriptions? And most people didn't even realize what TiVo actually was. They thought it was just a better VCR. TiVo spent years trying to get into cable, but the cable companies weren't in any rush to work with them. Instead, they built their own DVRs, and for most customers, that was good enough. If you wanted a TiVo, you had to go out and buy one separately. That meant spending hundreds of dollars on another box and figuring out how to fit it into your existing cable setup. Or, your cable company could hand you a DVR that did most of the same things, add a few dollars to your bill, and that was it. Were they as good as TiVo? Nope. But they were already in your house, and a lot of people thought they were using TiVo, even though it was just their cable company's DVR. Even when TiVo did get inside the system, it didn't last. DirecTV actually built TiVo into their boxes, and people loved it. But eventually, they replaced it with their own DVR, and customers who wanted newer features had to switch. And once that started happening, TiVo couldn't win. When we look back at the history of TiVo, it might be the least successful, most important device ever made. It once felt like the future of television, and then it quietly disappeared. TiVo eventually got out of the business of making DVRs, but it's not because the idea didn't work. A lot of what we expect from TV today, like pausing live broadcasts, recording shows automatically, and skipping commercials, started with TiVo. But over time, the system changed. While TiVo was busy fighting legal battles over patents, it started licensing its technology to the same cable companies that had already taken over. And while all that was happening, something even bigger was taking shape. Streaming didn't just improve TV, it removed the need to record it at all. Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, they all took the same idea. Watch what you want, when you want, and made it instant. No setup, and no worries about storage. TiVo became a verb. People used to say, "I'll TiVo that," but the company itself became an afterthought. It built the road, and everyone else got to drive on it. It's easy to look back and say TiVo was just a step between VCRs and streaming, but that doesn't really do it justice. It literally changed how we watch TV. TiVo is a reminder that being the best product doesn't always guarantee that you come out on top. You can build something better, but if someone else controls how it gets into people's homes, you're fighting an uphill battle. TiVo solved the problem, but the cable and satellite companies own the system. And in that kind of fight, the system usually wins.